Welcome to Video 30, which is titled Image and Glory: Why Visibility Matters. This video is part of the Genesis to Paul Foundation series, where we clarify how relational truth becomes visible in Paul's theology. Across the last few videos, we have been working beneath the surface. We've been asking what relational order actually is, where it comes from, and why it does not depend on hierarchy or domination. We've traced that grammar through Genesis, through Paul, and finally through the life of God Himself. Now we need to return to a category Paul uses constantly, but which is often misunderstood. That category is glory. This is because for Paul, relational order is not only something that exists, it is something that becomes visible, and that visibility matters. Let's begin with image. In Genesis, humanity is created in the image of God. Image is not earned, it is given. It is not a task to perform. It is a status bestowed. To be human is already to bear God's image. Paul never treats image as something that can be lost or achieved. It is a given condition of creaturely life. But image alone is not Paul's main concern. His concern is glory. Glory, in Paul's thought, is not a synonym for image. Image names what is given. Glory names how that gift becomes visible. Glory is relational truth made apparent. It is what ordered life looks like when it is lived out. That is why Paul can say that humanity is the image and glory of God, and then speak differently about how that glory is displayed. Glory is not hidden essence. It is enacted visibility. This is why Paul cares so deeply about bodies, practices, and symbols. He is not policing behavior. He is guarding meaning, because what is done publicly either reflects and displays relational truth or distorts it. For Paul, worship is not merely spoken. It is embodied. It is seen. And that means it communicates something to the gathered community, to the watching world, and even, Paul says, to the angels. This also explains why Paul resists reducing relationships to power. Power can coerce behavior, but it cannot produce glory. You can force compliance, but you cannot force visibility of truth. Glory cannot be commanded. It emerges when relationships are rightly ordered. That is why Paul works so carefully with posture and action. Posture names orientation. Action gives it shape. Glory is what appears when the two align. Notice how this brings everything together. Genesis 2 gives us relational order without domination. The Trinity shows us order without inequality. Paul then asks, what does that order look like when it becomes visible among redeemed people? That is the question glory answers. Glory is not status. It is correspondence. It is the fitting display of relational reality. When love is given and reverence returned, glory appears. When gift is received and honored, glory appears. When relations are ordered without control, glory appears. This also explains why Paul speaks so strongly about shame. Shame for Paul is not primarily emotional. It is relational misalignment. It is what happens when what is displayed contradicts what is true. Shame names distortion of visibility, not simply embarrassment. Paul is guarding the visibility of redeemed reality, because what Christ has accomplished is not only preached, It is meant to be seen. So let's draw the foundation series to a close. Order is not hierarchy, origin is not authority, relation is not power, reception is not subordination, and glory is not status. Glory is what relational truth looks like when it becomes visible. This is why Paul's theology cannot be reduced to rules, and it cannot be managed by power. It is a theology of gift, of reception, of relational coherence, and of visible truth. So let's draw the foundation series to a close. Across these videos, we've been asking what must be true before Paul ever gives commands or instructions. We've seen that order is not hierarchy, that origin is not authority, that reception is not subordination. And we have seen that relational life does not require domination in order to be coherent. We've traced this grammar from Genesis through Paul and finally into the life of the triune God himself. Only once those foundations are in place can Paul's teaching be heard clearly. Without them, his words sound evasive or authoritarian. With them, they become coherent, relational, and deeply Christ-centered. Everything that follows in this channel, whether in Paul's letters, in worship, or in human relationships, rests on these foundations. Thank you for walking through this series.